What is going on, everyone? This is Zach from Clutch Crew Sports back with another 2022 NFL season preview video. And on this episode, we are going to be talking about the Detroit Lions. So I was real excited to get this team when the three of us from the Clutch Crew Sports podcast were picking out the teams. I was happy to get the Lions. I think they're going to be an interesting and a fun team to watch this year. They're going to be a lot different than last year, I believe. I think they're going to win a lot more games. And the upward trajectory is there with the Lions, in my opinion. You look at this division in the NFC North, the Packers, Aaron Rodgers has a few more years maybe. I see them as going honestly on a down like a decline once Rodgers leaves. I don't think the Packers are in a good situation. You got the Bears, who I think are a step behind the Lions, and then the Vikings are always just feel like an average team. They've never really became a legit Super Bowl contender. But the Lions, I think the Lions, they've been in this rebuild for a while now, but I think they're gonna be pretty good in a few years. And I think this year, this is a team to watch for sure. So let's start with the first major question for the Lions, and that's the quarterback question. A lot of people, a lot of casual fans, a lot of fans that have, not even just casual fans, just a lot of people are down on Jared Goff. It's no longer, a controversial take to say Jared Goff is not a good quarterback. I think that's what the majority opinion is. Jared Goff just not very good. And I agree with that. I think he's not very good, but I do think people are being a little bit harsh on him. I mean, he did go to a Super Bowl in his career. He has won some games. He's done some good stuff. Um, his ceiling, I think, is limited. He's not. I don't think he's going to ever be a top 10 quarterback. I don't think he's as bad as people claim he is. I mean, last year this team just had no weapons to work with, a bad offensive line, rookie head coach. This team was clearly in the very early stages of a rebuild. Goff gets traded, replaces Matthew Stafford, doesn't go very well. But on the flip side, you see how these other quarterbacks did last year when he was injured, and it was much worse. I mean, there was a big jump from Jared Goff versus the other quarterbacks, in my opinion, last year on the Lions. I think Goff's going to be okay this year. Like I said, I'm not expecting a Pro Bowl, resurrection or something. But also, I think he'll be better. I do think ultimately the Lions are going to be in a position where they draft a quarterback next year. But for Goff's sake, this is his time to prove it. I mean, if he can surprise, win more games than people think for the Lions, and really show that he belongs here, then I think the Lions might have possibly their future. It's a slim probability. Like most people aren't even considering that at all. I think there's a greater chance than people think. But the Lions, we'll see how he does again this year with the team being a lot better, in my opinion. Now, the next thing for the Lions is the youth movement for this team over the past few years. This is a team that's drafted really well, and that's why I'm optimistic about the rebuild. Actually, last year they drafted Penei Sewell in the first round, right tackle, and then also later on in the draft they get Amonra St. Brown, the wide receiver from USC, and I was surprised a little bit, honestly, he went that far in the draft. I remember watching him in college. I thought he was better than fifth round, I believe, is where he went. But either way, they came across a steal of a player to get that. Hopefully, Amon St. Brown could be a number one wide receiver, but it's not like that's a requirement for him, considering the offseason additions at wide receiver. They're going young. They get DJ Chark, believe he's just 25 years old or younger, from the Jaguars. Has a bit of an injury history for sure, but when he was playing, healthy, he was not a bad receiver. And then they draft Jamison Williams, who also has, an injury question mark this season, but in my opinion, he was the best of the wide receivers in this draft. Alabama makes really good wide receivers, and I think Jamison Williams, super fast, speedy guy. is going to be a very, very good complement to DJ Chark and Amon St. Brown. You've got a young running back, DeAndre Swift. I believe, he's a power back. He can catch the ball in the backfield, though. Great at Georgia, University of Georgia. And in my opinion, he could take a Derrick Henry level step. I think people are kind of forgetting about him because the Lions have been so bad. When you look at the best running backs in the league, talk about Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook, those sort of guys. DeAndre Swift, his name doesn't get brought up at all. And in my opinion, I think after this year, he could be one of these guys that it took Derrick Henry a few years to really become Derrick Henry. I think DeAndre Swift has gotten better from his rookie season to last year. I think he's going to be really, really good. Now, the running back, lifespan is short, but Swift is in his prime right now. They're set at running back, good young running back, good young tight end, and T.J. Hawkinson as well. Believe they signed him to a contract extension, so they've got him locked down. The defense, they drafted Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan, the local kid. There's still more work to be done on the defense for the Lions, but overall, I'm a fan of all their draft picks. I'm a fan of the draft they had this year and the one last year. And that's how you really get out of this bad stage of the team, through the NFL draft. And the Lions have done a great job of that the last few years. We should see wins coming from this team this season and going forward. Next, I want to talk about the coaching. I don't talk about the coaching on every team. It's not as important, I feel like, for some. But for this team, thinking of topics, really stood out to me. Dan Campbell's coming into his second year. The Lions, they lost a lot of close games last year, I remember. They tied the game against the Steelers. They really should have won. There were several others. They had leads in the game, just let the lead slip away. They lost by field goals. That crazy game against the Ravens. So I like the coaching from Dan Campbell last year. I like the energy. I think he suits the team well. I think a lot of people are very highly of him. You hear a lot of good things coming out of Dan Campbell as the head coach. And then also, too, they've just added in a lot of former players. Like Brody Sports Talk really, highlighted this on their podcast when they gave a summary of the NFC North, and they talked about the Lions. Bringing in a lot of ex-players, Mark Brunell being the main example as the new quarterbacks coach. And I think this is a good idea. Bringing in former players that had success. We're going to see now, I think, a better coaching staff in Detroit. And I think that is going to be a big, big difference. This team, for years and years, even when they had good players, seemed like they always had bad coaching. In the 1 year they did have good coaching with Jim Caldwell, they fired him. So I think the Lions have finally got the coaching situation figured out, and that's huge. You need the coach and the quarterback to be a long-term successful franchise, and the Lions, in my opinion, they've got one. They're still searching for the second, but a lot of the right pieces are in place for the Lions this season and going forward. Taking a look now at their schedule, their over-under is set at 6.5. Last year, their over-under was set at 3, and they tied that. They ended up with 3 wins. They did have a tie, but just 3 wins. And based on everything I've said so far in this season preview, I think everybody's, going to say that I'm going with the over, and that's true. I am going with the over. I feel confident about it. The Lions, to me, are a sneaky wild card team in the NFC. I really do believe they could sneak into that 7th spot. I think at the very least, they're going to be one of these in the hunt competitive teams in December. When you see the graphic on Fox or CBS, they show the playoff teams and the in the hunt teams, as they call them. The Lions, I feel like, will be in the hunt, or down at the bottom of the wild card standings. In my opinion, that's what it's going to be. Looking at their schedule, they play the NFC East, which is a weak division. You've got Philly, Washington Commanders, Dallas, and the Giants. I'm not a big fan of the NFC East. I think those are a lot of winnable games there. Obviously, in the division, they play the Packers well each time. They're. I really think they might beat the Packers once this year at home. Um, they played teams like the Jaguars, the Patriots. I don't think are going to be as good as they were. The Dolphins will be interesting. The Panthers, the Jets. There's obviously some tough games here, like Bills and Packers on the road. I think Cowboys will be kind of tough. Seahawks is an easier game, but it's honestly not a terrible schedule in my opinion. I think this is why a lot of people seem to be high in the Lions. That's why you see a jump for 3.5 games and they're over under projected. Not only the how much better they got in the offseason and how much optimism was with this team, but also their schedule being one of the easier schedules that I've seen when I've done these NFL preview videos. So, with all that being said, guys, I think easily over. I think 8 wins could be a real possibility for the Lions. Maybe see them in the playoffs. That'd be pretty fun. I'm not saying they're going to go anywhere or even win a game in the playoffs. Too young of a team to do that. But the Lions are on the right track, and that's honestly a good thing for them. It's been a long time since the Lions have been good for a sustained period of time. But it's about time that Lions fans have something to cheer for. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my very optimistic video on the Lions. Leave some thoughts in the comments below if you want to. And until then, guys, remember, be clutch.